Most strokes don't happen suddenly. They don't begin with a dramatic moment or a clear warning. For many people over 70, stroke risk builds quietly through small habits repeated every day. Habits that seem harmless. Habits that feel normal. You may eat regularly. You may take your medications. And you may feel generally fine. Yet over time, certain everyday behaviors can slowly strain blood vessels and reduce blood flow to the brain. Not overnight, but gradually, without obvious symptoms. This is why many seniors are caught by surprise. They never felt sick. They simply didn't realize what was adding up. Understanding these habits is not about fear. It's about awareness. Because what you notice early, you still have the power to change. Many seniors believe stroke risk comes down to bad luck or family history. If no one in the family has had a stroke, it's easy to assume the risk is low. Others feel reassured because they take their medications as prescribed. They check their blood pressure. They try to eat reasonably well. And most days they feel fine. So when the topic of stroke comes up, it feels distant. Like something that happens to other people. People who are much sicker or less careful. This belief is very common, and it's understandable. The problem is that stroke risk does not usually announce itself clearly. It doesn't arrive with pain. It doesn't come with obvious warning signs that demand attention. Instead, it builds quietly in the background. Through daily routines that feel harmless, through small habits repeated over many years. Most of these habits are not mistakes in the usual sense. They are things people do without thinking. Things that once didn't matter much, but begin to matter more after 70. This is why many seniors are surprised when doctors talk about increased stroke risk later in life. They don't feel unwell. They haven't changed dramatically, yet something has shifted beneath the surface. Blood vessels become less flexible with age. The brain becomes more sensitive to changes in blood flow, and the margin for error grows smaller over time. What once had little impact can slowly place extra strain on the system. Not enough to cause immediate problems, but enough to increase risk gradually. This doesn't mean a stroke is inevitable, and it doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It means the body has changed, even if daily life feels the same. And habits that were once neutral may now carry more weight than before. Understanding this is important, because awareness creates options. When people recognize how everyday behaviors affect long-term brain health, they can make thoughtful adjustments. Not drastic changes, not fear-driven decisions, just small shifts that support circulation and protect the brain over time. That's why it's helpful to look closely at everyday habits, not to judge them, but to understand how they quietly influence stroke risk as we age. Stroke is often described as a sudden event. One moment, everything feels normal. The next moment, life changes. But what many people don't realize is that the damage leading up to a stroke usually develops slowly, over many years. Inside the body, blood vessels are constantly under stress. They expand and contract thousands of times each day. They deliver oxygen and nutrients to the brain every second. As we age, these vessels can gradually lose flexibility. Their inner walls may become stiffer. Blood may not flow as smoothly as it once did. This process doesn't cause pain, and it doesn't create obvious symptoms at first. That's why it's easy to miss. Small disruptions in blood flow may come and go without notice. The brain compensates. The body adapts. Over time, however, these small changes can accumulate. Blood flow becomes less efficient. Pressure on vessel walls increases, and the brain becomes more vulnerable to sudden interruptions in oxygen supply. This is why stroke risk often rises quietly after 70. Not because something suddenly breaks, but because the system has been under strain for a long time. Many everyday habits contribute to this strain. They don't cause immediate harm, but they slowly affect circulation, blood pressure regulation, and vessel health. What makes this especially challenging is that the brain is very sensitive to reduced blood flow. Even brief interruptions can have serious consequences. Yet before a major event occurs, the body often sends subtle signals. Moments of dizziness, brief confusion, changes in balance. These signals are easy to ignore because they pass quickly, but they are often early signs that the system is struggling to keep up. Understanding that stroke risk builds gradually changes how we look at prevention. It's not about one dramatic mistake. It's about the accumulation of small habits over time. That's why looking at everyday behaviors is so important. Because when habits are recognized early, there is often an opportunity to reduce strain and support the brain before serious damage occurs. Next, we'll start looking at specific everyday habits that can quietly increase stroke risk after 70, beginning with one that many seniors don't even realize they're doing: Spending long periods sitting is one of the most common habits among seniors. It doesn't come from laziness. It often comes from comfort, routine, or caution. After 70, many people move less to avoid pain, fatigue, or dizziness. They sit to feel safe. They rest more often. And over time, sitting becomes the default position. The issue is not sitting itself. It's how long the body stays still. When you sit for extended periods, blood flow slows, especially in the lower body. Muscles are not contracting enough to help push blood back toward the heart. This causes blood to pool in the legs and places extra strain on the circulatory system. Over time, this reduced movement can affect how blood vessels respond. They become less responsive to changes in position. They don't open and close as smoothly as they should. For the brain, this matters. When circulation becomes less efficient overall, the system has a harder time adjusting quickly. This can increase stress on blood vessels and contribute to gradual changes that raise stroke risk. What makes this habit tricky is that it feels harmless. Sitting doesn't hurt. Rest feels sensible. But long stretches of inactivity can quietly reduce circulation, increase stiffness in blood vessels, and affect how the body regulates blood pressure. Many seniors don't realize how little movement they're actually getting in a day. Standing up less often, walking shorter distances, avoiding stairs or uneven ground. These small changes add up. The good news is that addressing this habit doesn't require intense exercise. It's not about workouts or pushing the body. Simple movement makes a difference. Standing up regularly, walking for a few minutes, gently activating the leg muscles throughout the day. These small actions help keep blood moving and reduce the strain that builds when the body stays still for too long. Recognizing prolonged sitting as a habit is an important step, because once movement is reintroduced gently and consistently, circulation often responds in a positive way. Up next, we'll look at another everyday habit that many seniors overlook, one that directly affects blood thickness and circulation throughout the body. Not drinking enough water is another very common habit among seniors, and it often happens without anyone realizing it. As we get older, the sensation of thirst becomes weaker. The body doesn't signal dehydration as clearly as it once did, so many seniors simply don't feel thirsty, even when the body needs fluids. Some people also limit water intake intentionally. They may want to avoid frequent trips to the bathroom, or they may worry about bladder control, especially at night. The problem is that even mild dehydration can affect circulation. When the body lacks adequate fluid, blood becomes thicker and moves more slowly. This makes it harder for blood to flow smoothly through blood vessels, especially the smaller ones that supply the brain. Over time, thicker blood places extra strain on the circulatory system. The heart has to work harder. Blood pressure regulation becomes less stable, and the brain may not receive oxygen as efficiently as it should. This can quietly increase stress on blood vessels and contribute to changes that raise stroke risk. Not suddenly, but gradually, as days and weeks pass. What makes this habit easy to overlook is that dehydration doesn't always feel dramatic. There may be no dry mouth, no strong discomfort, just subtle effects like fatigue, lightheadedness, or slower thinking. Many seniors attribute these feelings to age rather than hydration. So the habit continues without adjustment. Staying properly hydrated does not mean drinking large amounts all at once. It means consistent intake throughout the day. Small amounts taken regularly help maintain healthy blood volume and support circulation. Water supports more than just thirst. It helps blood flow smoothly. It helps regulate blood pressure. And it helps the brain respond more effectively to everyday demands. Recognizing low fluid intake as a habit is important, because improving hydration is one of the simplest ways to support circulation and reduce strain on blood vessels over time. Now let's look at another habit that often goes unnoticed, one that involves ignoring early warning signs the body may be sending. One of the most dangerous habits after 70 is ignoring symptoms because they seem mild or temporary. Many seniors experience small changes and assume they are not important enough to mention or think about. These signs often come and go. They don't last long, and they don't cause pain. Because of that, they are easy to dismiss. Examples include brief dizziness, moments of lightheadedness, short episodes of blurred vision, or a feeling of unsteadiness that resolves within seconds. Some people notice tingling in the hands or feet. Others experience mild confusion that quickly clears. Since these symptoms pass, many seniors tell themselves there is no need to worry. They assume it was fatigue, dehydration, or simply standing up too quickly. The problem is not any one episode by itself. It's the pattern. The body often sends early warning signals long before a serious event occurs. These signals are subtle on purpose. They are meant to prompt awareness, not panic. When blood flow to the brain is briefly reduced, the brain compensates. It recovers quickly, but repeated episodes place stress on blood vessels over time. Ignoring these moments allows that stress to continue unnoticed. The brain adapts, the body adjusts, and risk slowly increases in the background. Many seniors hesitate to bring up these symptoms because they don't want to seem overly concerned. They don't want to be told it's just aging. Or they worry about unnecessary tests. As a result, important information is often left out of conversations about health. What makes this habit especially risky is that early signs are often reversible. When they are noticed and addressed, there is often an opportunity to reduce strain and improve circulation. But when they are consistently ignored, the underlying issues continue to progress. This doesn't mean every mild symptom points to something serious. And it doesn't mean fear is helpful. It means patterns matter. Paying attention to recurring dizziness, brief visual changes, or repeated balance issues provides valuable insight into how the body is functioning. These signs help identify when the brain may not be receiving blood as efficiently as it should. Awareness does not require immediate action or drastic changes. It requires noticing and acknowledging what the body is communicating. By breaking the habit of ignoring mild symptoms, seniors give themselves a chance to respond early. Early awareness supports better conversations, better decisions, and better outcomes over time. Up next, we'll look at another everyday habit that quietly affects blood vessels and brain health. One related to nutrition and how the body's needs change with age. Another everyday habit that quietly increases stroke risk after 70 is assuming that nutrition no longer plays a major role. Many seniors believe that if they eat regular meals or take a multivitamin, their needs are automatically covered. The reality is that the body's nutritional needs change with age. Digestion becomes less efficient, absorption slows, and certain nutrients are not used as effectively as they once were. Blood vessels and brain tissue rely on ongoing nutritional support to function properly. They need help maintaining flexibility, repairing daily wear, and responding to changes in blood flow. When this support is lacking, blood vessels can become stiffer and less responsive over time. This process is gradual. There is no sudden pain, no obvious warning sign, just a slow reduction in how well the system adapts to stress. Many seniors unknowingly develop low levels of nutrients that support circulation and nerve communication. Not because they are careless, but because the body simply doesn't extract or use nutrients the same way after 70. This can affect how blood pressure is regulated, how oxygen is delivered to the brain, and how quickly the brain responds to changes in position or activity. Over time, this places additional strain on blood vessels and increases vulnerability. What makes this habit especially common is that standard checkups don't always reveal the problem. Blood tests may appear acceptable. Energy levels may seem normal. Yet the brain and blood vessels may still be operating with less support than they need. Another factor is routine. Many seniors continue the same eating patterns they followed decades ago. What once worked well may no longer be enough. This does not mean drastic dietary changes are required, and it does not mean supplements should be added without thought. It means nutrition deserves ongoing attention as the body changes. Small adjustments can help support circulation, protect blood vessels, and reduce long-term strain on the brain. Ignoring nutritional support doesn't cause immediate problems. That's why it's easy to overlook. But over years, this habit can quietly contribute to increased stroke risk. Recognizing this pattern allows seniors to shift from assuming everything is fine to asking whether the body is receiving what it truly needs at this stage of life. That awareness sets the stage for better support and better resilience over time. Now let's move to the habit that has the greatest impact of all, the one that quietly prevents many seniors from recognizing risk early and taking meaningful action. The most powerful habit that quietly increases stroke risk after 70 is believing that changes in the body are simply unavoidable. The idea that feeling weaker, slower, or less steady is just part of getting older. This belief is very common, and it's often reinforced by people around us. Friends say it, family members repeat it, and sometimes even healthcare conversations unintentionally support it. Over time, this belief becomes automatic. When dizziness happens, it's dismissed. When balance feels off, it's ignored. When thinking feels slower, it's accepted without question. The problem is not aging itself. The problem is assuming that every change is normal and unchangeable. This habit quietly delays awareness. It encourages people to adapt instead of investigate, to work around symptoms instead of understanding them. Many seniors begin adjusting their lives without realizing it. They move more carefully. They avoid certain activities. They limit themselves to what feels safest. These adjustments may reduce discomfort, but they don't reduce underlying strain. Blood vessels continue to stiffen. Circulation continues to slow, and the brain continues to work with less support than it needs. What makes this habit especially risky is that it removes urgency. When something is labeled as just aging, it no longer feels worth attention. Yet, many age-related changes are influenced by habits, circulation, and support systems that can still be addressed. Not reversed overnight, but supported in meaningful ways. Accepting decline too quickly can prevent people from noticing early warning signs, signs that might otherwise prompt helpful conversations or small adjustments. This doesn't mean fighting age or denying reality. It means staying curious. Curiosity asks questions instead of making assumptions. Curiosity notices patterns instead of dismissing them. When seniors shift from "this is just how it is" to "why is this happening," they give themselves an opportunity to reduce strain, to protect brain health, and to lower long-term risk. Breaking this habit doesn't require fear or drastic action. It requires awareness and willingness to listen to what the body is saying now, not what it used to say years ago. Recognizing that aging and decline are not the same thing is one of the most important steps toward protecting health and independence after 70. For many seniors, the word stroke brings up a deep and quiet fear. Not just fear of illness, but fear of what life might look like afterward. The fear of losing independence. The fear of needing help with simple daily tasks. The fear of becoming a burden on family. These thoughts are rarely spoken out loud, but they sit in the background, influencing decisions and behavior. This is why conversations about stroke risk can feel uncomfortable. People worry that paying attention will create anxiety, so they choose not to think about it at all. The problem is that ignoring risk does not reduce it. It only delays awareness. At the same time, fear-based decisions can be just as harmful. Making sudden changes, stopping medications without guidance, adding supplements without understanding how the body will respond. This is why balance matters. Reducing stroke risk is not about panic or extreme measures. It's about thoughtful, steady support for the body over time. Medications prescribed by healthcare providers should never be stopped or adjusted without professional advice. They are often essential for managing blood pressure, heart rhythm, or other conditions that affect brain health. Supplements and dietary changes should also be approached carefully. More is not always better, especially after 70. The body may respond differently than it did years ago. Paying attention to patterns is one of the safest and most effective steps. Noticing recurring dizziness, changes in balance, moments of confusion or visual disturbance. These details help guide meaningful conversations with healthcare professionals. Safety also means focusing on prevention in everyday life. Standing up slowly, staying hydrated, moving regularly, creating a home environment that reduces fall risk. These actions don't eliminate risk overnight, but they reduce strain on the system and support resilience over time. Understanding stroke risk does not mean living in fear. It means living with awareness. Awareness allows you to take responsibility without panic, to make adjustments without extremes, and to protect both health and independence as you age. When fear is replaced with understanding, seniors often feel more in control. And control is one of the most powerful tools